What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday. This is the first Monday mail day of this year, I believe. I don't know. Maybe I got my dates mixed up. But if not, it's the second. And I picked a lot of questions. Put a thumb up next to the questions I'm going to answer. I got my glass of water, and I'll do my best to answer the questions as usual. Boxingego MMD. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. YouTube is... They made some changes, so like interaction is what counts now, like thumbs up and comments and stuff like that. So if you have a comment, let me know. If I didn't get to your question this week, then try again next week. And let's get it in. First question, Frederick Cotton. You think Terence Crawford gonna be undisputed at 140? I would say yes, because I don't really see anyone beating him. The only real fight that's competitive out there that's left to me is Adrian Broner, and I don't know if it would happen based on politics and where both guys are at their career. I don't know how effectively Broner makes 140, but we'll find out in the Granados fight. He missed weight in his last fight with Ashley Theophane, but I can't really think. He already fought the number 2 guy, Victor Postal, made it look easy. He's fighting different styles. John Molina Jr. is a puncher. He fought a Hank Lundy, who's like a veteran, like kind of rugged, not necessarily the biggest puncher, but has heart. He fought Thomas Delorme, a guy who fought at welterweight, moved back down after being stopped. Very tall, rangy, athletic boxer type. Recently sparred with Floyd Mayweather and stopped him. Thierry Jean, never been stopped him. So it is, I mean, who can beat him? The people that were already linked to, I guess from fans, that people were saying could beat him, came up short some way or another, like Victor Postal, and then the Russian guy Troy Yanowski. I guess that was his mandatory. He just got knocked out by Indongo or whatever in the first round. So I mean, I really don't see anyone beating him. I think the most competitive fight is Broner. And another fight I would want to see is Mikey Garcia, if Mikey Garcia wants to move up from 35, but we have to see how he looks versus Dejan Zlaticanin. And I'm trying to tell people that's a sleeper fight because it's easy to get confused. Mikey Garcia, very technically gifted. I've interviewed the dude, humble dude, good fighter. But Dejan Zlaticanin, you don't want to sleep on him. He's shorter, but he has power. He's pretty much a knockout artist, and he's the champion. And you got to keep in mind, Mikey Garcia's accomplishments are 130 or below. His biggest fights. And he had a long layoff. So this is obviously the toughest fight Mikey Garcia has had in a while, probably since Orlando Salido on paper. So we'll see how he looks. If he gets past that, maybe that's something that could be made. I would love Robert Easter if he moves up versus Terence Crawford, but from the actual people who are at 140 right now, don't see anyone beating Crawford. He can do it all. He's a complete fighter. Covered several of his fights, and that's how I see it. Next question comes from Joe Kelly. If Jacobs beats Triple G, will he get any credit? We know Triple G's resume is not the best. I don't know what the media will do because aside from me, I don't really know. I don't agree with a lot that gets put out there. Like Floyd Mayweather beats Pacquiao, they say it's the worst fight ever and all this extra stuff. So I don't know what the mass media will do, but I'll give him credit because even though Triple G's resume is not the greatest, I'll admit that. He has an amateur background and he has been built up to be this monster. So if the underdog upsets the monster, a guy who's coming in as the underdog, who's been stopped before, I mean, Triple G's a good fighter. Whether his resume is there or not, he's still doing what obviously is not easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has 24 knockouts in a row, and there are some names, like, even though me personally, I don't rank like Daniel Gill. I mean, I don't rank him as a world beater. I never did. He lost to Darren Barker, later lost to the guy that Chris Eubanks fighting, the Reynald Quinlan or whatever. Moved up, lost to Cotto. Cotto's not even that big. He's not even a true middleweight. He was at a catchweight, but still. Triple G knocked him out. He had a tough fight with Jared Fletcher. I mean, I don't rank him that highly, but again, you still have to have some level of talent to be knocking everybody out in a row. You know what I mean? So I think Jacobs will get credit because of who Triple G has been built up to be in the media. I mean, it's kind of like Mike Tyson. Not saying they fight alike, because they don't. But Buster Douglas was the underdog and he upset Tyson, so he got credit because of who Mike Tyson was supposed to be. So I don't really see anyone who's not going to give Jacobs credit. Again, Triple G's resume is not the greatest, but he's being billed as this monster, and Jacobs is not favored to win, so why wouldn't people give him credit if he beats him? Next question is from Smiley G. What do you think is the difference between a best pound-for-pound boxer and an elite top-level boxer? Example, Andre Ward and Adonis Stevenson. Can't be just natural ability. What do you think is the difference between a best pound-for-pound boxer and an elite top-level boxer? I don't really understand the question because I don't know what you're saying about Ward and Stevenson. I don't know if you're saying they're elite or if they're just best pound-for-pound. I don't really understand the question, but to me, I don't even do pound-for-pound lists. But in a mythical world, if I were to do them, to me, what pound-for-pound means is if you take this fighter's attributes and you were able to modify them and make them a bantamweight, a welterweight, a light heavyweight, a heavyweight, whose style would prevail against the others in that division, right? So that's what makes an elite pound-for-pound boxer to me, is just overall having skill. And it can't be a one-trick pony skill. You have to have more than that. And you have to have, aside from skill, you have to have some other things that people can't see, that aren't tangible, like heart. There's a lot of good fighters. Victor Ortiz is a good fighter. A lot of people give him shit. He has athletic ability. He has speed. He has power. But when it comes down to it, his heart is what gets questioned. So you have to think of that. Like, if you think about it, Victor Ortiz versus Luis Collazo. Collazo is not known as the most devastating puncher. Like, you got to respect his power, if anything. Amir Khan is not known for having the best chin, but Collazo landed shots and Khan didn't knock him down. In fact, he got knocked down 3 times by Amir Khan, right? I know Ortiz was coming off a long layoff, but as soon as it got tough in that fight, he was on all fours, and it looked like he gave up. It looked to me, I'm not him, but it looked like he could have continued. He just looked like, what am I here for? Like, I'm not even gonna get back up. You know what I mean? He might have been hurt or whatever, but it didn't look like it was everlasting, like to the point where he was so hurt he couldn't do nothing. You know what I mean? Like when Matthew Macklin got dropped by Golovkin, he was like rolling around in pain. So clearly he was hurt. You know what I mean? He couldn't continue. But it looked like Ortiz can continue. Fast forward to Kovalev Ward. Ward got buzzed or hurt or whatever when Kovalev knocked him down. But he did what champions do, a true champion. And he got better as the fight progressed. He ate that and worked himself back into the fight. So that's really what it is, aside from just natural ability and skill. It's a mindset, a championship mindset. I won't be denied. I'm down 2-3 rounds or whatever it is, and I'm going to work myself back in the fight. I'm not just here to play it safe. Like, I looked at Victor Postal. To me, he played it safe versus Crawford. He was clearly behind, and it got to a point where I was at that fight live. It got to the point where he needed a knockout to win, and he wasn't really doing those. He wasn't really taking those chances, and you got to push through that. You know what I mean? Ward was fighting, when he fought Kovalev, he was fighting a real risky fight. Kovalev was a good boxer, a damn good boxer with power. So one more of those shots lands, it might be night-night, depending on how much you recovered or not, or you could get knocked down again, and then it's really the fight, because it was already a tight, close fight. So one error in judgment, one more knockdown would have sealed the deal for sure for Kovalev. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's what a pound-for-pound or elite person is, someone who could persevere through challenges. Like when you look at basketball, Michael Jordan had a temperature of 103 degrees and he still played in the playoffs, in the finals or whatever. Flu game Jordan. You know what I mean? That takes, I felt like shit before, and I don't feel like doing Monday mail days. I don't feel like recording no videos. I don't feel like doing nothing. You know what I mean? But the people who can adapt and push through that, those are the elite people that are remembered in history. Next question, Jack C3D. Hey, Ego, what are your thoughts on Danny Jacobs hiring Chris Algieri as his cook for the training camp? It's a good move. I made a video about it. By the time this Monday Mail Day is up, that video will already be out, but I kind of document that in detail, talk about the Jacob changes with Chris Algieri and Virgil Hunter, and I like it. I mean, better to do it now than lose to Golovkin, for example, and then try to change a bunch of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It's already too late. You lost the biggest fight and you lost your momentum. Now you got to climb back up the ladder. So if he wants to get his eating down pat, I mean, you're talking to a person who went to school for that, Chris Algieri. And it gives you the best fighting chance. If you can beat Triple G at all, then having your ducks in a row is the best option for you. Be in the best shape of your life. Make sure you ate what you were supposed to be eating. Put your miles in. Work out. Get your weight off the right way. You know what I'm saying? So I commend Jacobs for making these modifications and changes for the biggest fight of his career. Period. And Algieri knows his shit. Whether he wins, loses his fights, he still knows fitness. He still knows nutrition. So that's a strong team. Next question, Boxing OP. What do you think about a fight between Shawn Porter and Timothy Bradley? I personally think Porter would win due to his fast tempo and his aggressiveness. Yeah, I mean, if Shawn Porter, he took a lot of shots in the Thurman fight, but he's had a lot of time to recover. He didn't come back too soon, which is a good thing for him. It gives your body time to rest. But yeah, I've seen Shawn Porter train, and I would probably pick Porter at this point. I think he's still the fresher fighter. Bradley got knocked down 2 times by Pacquiao in the 3rd fight. And I like Bradley, but sometimes he misses the plot to me, where he'll go AWOL and start doing weird stuff at weird times. And I've always seen that with Bradley. Well, not always, more so later in his career, after he got bigger, after he started fighting Pacquiao and stuff. Sometimes he goes to these rogue missions, and that's not really a good thing, especially against a guy. Bottom line is this. Unless Porter got so banged up he's not ever the same fighter from Keith Thurman, which I doubt, then how is Bradley going to keep Porter off of him? Because Thurman's best shots, boxing and moving, he didn't do enough to knock down, knock out, or anything Shawn Porter. So, you know what I mean? Bradley clearly is not the puncher that Thurman is at welterweight. So Bradley would have to box a great fight. And to me, I haven't really seen many recent Bradley performances where I would say this is a virtuoso performance. There's been fights where he did good and then he made a weird decision. Like, I thought he did good in the Ruslan fight, but that was after he got his brains knocked out in the first 2 rounds by Ruslan, which was his fault because he was fighting super aggressive against a known puncher from Russia, the Siberian Rocky. He did good for 11 rounds with Jesse Vargas, but he went away from what was working, which I didn't understand in that 12th round, and then he got caught and nearly paid for it. He does that in the Pacquiao 2 fight, like where he's doing good, and all of a sudden he's like putting too much on each punch, like he's Triple G or somebody, and loading up on all the shots, and then he doesn't preserve his energy right, and then Pacquiao starts making adjustments and then wins the second half of the second fight. So I'm picking Porter, but it's a good fight. I just think Porter he's fresher, he's youthful, and he's real. He gets busy in training. Next question, Courtney Douglas. What up, Ego? Prayers up for all the families and victims in the Florida airport shooting. Yeah, man, that was cold-blooded and unfortunate. They just released the surveillance camera from the airport, and it is sad that Fort Lauderdale airport shooting, just cowardly act. He just really, I watched it, and he ran up, or he just walked up like he was going to baggage claim and then just pulled out a gun out of his waist and randomly started shooting. Crazy world we live in. My question is, what do you think of celebrity boxing? I, for one, think it's brilliant. It's a lot of money to be made, and it sends out a caution to others in the entertainment industry. Think twice about running their mouths, because there's an outlet to get whatever off your chest with extreme violence. Plus, you get paid and ultimately have your career ruined. Your thoughts? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. You look at Chris Brown, a Soulja Boy, is going viral. People are talking about it. People want in. Floyd Mayweather, Broner, About Billions, Mike Tyson, 50 Cent. Everybody wants a piece of the action, so obviously it can't be that bad. It's a lot of exposure, whether you think people are getting exploited or not. But it's better than just hearing people run their mouth like, oh, I'm going to slap you when I see you, and then nothing happens. Or it escalates to some real gangster shit and someone gets shot over it, or somebody's entourage gets killed, or anything like that. So, I mean, before we have another Tupac Biggie type situation, do it the old-fashioned way. Lace them up. If you feel Billy Badass, you feel Froggish Lee. So I'm okay with it. But from what I've seen in celebrity boxing in the past, a lot of times it's just washed up people like Screech and, you know what I mean, a former Power Ranger and shit. The Brown Ranger. Like, what? There was a Brown Ranger? But, I mean, if you can get high-profile people, then it'll be interesting. Like the Chris Brown, I think that's why it's so interesting, because those are people who are still semi-relevant or relevant, you know what I mean? More so than Screech, you know what I mean? No one's talking about Dustin Diamond, but they're relevant. They still have careers. People still know who they are, and it's not like years past it for them. Like Chris Brown still drops music that does well and sells and gets good features and stuff like that. So it's a risk, but I mean, if they got to get it off their chest, then what other way to do it than this? Next question is from Buckin5. Is Pacquiao starting to become a cherry picker? He is fighting people that no one wants to see him fight: Bradley 3, Vargas, Jeff Horn. And he's making outrageous demands to fight the people that everyone wants him to fight: Crawford. Well, you tell me. It sounds like you know the answer based on your question. I mean, bottom line is the opponent selection hasn't been favorable. Therefore, his numbers are suffering. I think the pay-per-view model has changed in the last couple of years in general, just with the Codys and the Fire Sticks and all the ways of going to Facebook or Periscope or whatever to watch fights. But it can still make money, but it has to be the right fight. HBO is burning fans out by putting every single fight that, you know what I'm saying? Every fight is not pay-per-view worthy. Like, especially when the two fighters haven't been primed for this moment. Like, even you look at something as simple as the mechanism on a lawnmower. You put gas in the lawnmower, right? So gas it up. You put the gas in the tank, and you hit that little bubble, that primer, to prime it up. And then you pull the little rip cord and start the gas mower up, and then you start mowing your lawn. Very simple. It's a well-oiled machine. Gas, prime, pull, start, mow. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where boxing is missing it, because they're throwing ripples in the ponds by throwing out fights that no one wants to see. And then come time to see a fight we do want to see, or it is meaningful, like Ward Kovalev, it ain't doing the numbers because you burnt us out with a bunch of Canelo Liam Smith, Canelo Khan, this and that. Fights that didn't, you know what I mean? Cotto Kirkland, that could have been on regular HBO. Like Cotto Kirkland, I think it has entertainment value, but is it going to be meaningful? These are two guys who have had long layoffs, over a year by the time they'll fight. And both fighters one got stopped, but they both lost to the same man, which is Canelo Alvarez. So what does that mean for the division of 154 pounds? Two people Canelo already beat, fighting on pay-per-view. Like, how did you get those honors? I'd understand if James Kirkland came back and fought Curtis Stevens or Jermell Charlo or something and knocked somebody out, then got Cotto and Cotto had a tune-up or something. But that's not what happens. They're coming fresh off the couch. Long layoff, probably both gain weight, because I've seen pictures of them, and they're getting the pay-per-view. So the pay-per-view model is not the same, especially when they're making fights that no one wants to see. I don't care if it's HBO or top-ranked pay-per-view. I mean, the numbers are still going to suffer when it's not the adequate dance partner. So as far as Pacquiao, yeah, no one wanted to see the Bradley 3 fight. That's why Bob Arum said the numbers aren't good. Not good. Terrible. Because no one wanted to see that. We already felt that we had justification in who won the first two fights, or Pacquiao avenged it the second time, and not much had changed since then. You know what I mean? Bradley beat Ruslan since then. I think he beat Marquez, and then he had a 12th round scare and beat Jesse Vargas and maybe Diego Chavez, and he looked like his eye was all busted up in that fight too from a headbutt or whatever. So that wasn't the proper buildup to lead into Pacquiao Bradley 3. And then the Vargas, same thing. I know he's a champion now, but he fought one guy who was relatively unproven in Saddam Ali, and Bradley, a guy that Pacquiao, most people think he beat twice, already beat him and dominated him. So what did people expect Pacquiao to do? I know triangle theories don't always work, but I mean, the matchup on paper will show you that it was an uphill battle for Vargas. He's a good fighter, but I mean, I wouldn't really pick Vargas to beat the top guys at welterweight. Keith Thurman, Kell Brook, Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't. That's just me. So, yeah, this whole Jeff Horn or Ricky Burns and stuff for Pacquiao, it's not good because no one wants that, and it's even worse. Like I said earlier in this video, Triple G, his division is not that stacked. He can't control that per se. The only thing he could do is look for the best fights, maybe take the 15 million for Canelo, maybe move up and then move back down and be more flexible in that regard. But he can't control ultimately who's in his division. Welterweight is not like middleweight. Welterweight is stacked. You got killers. You know what I mean? Pacquiao, even if he fought Sammy Vasquez or Felix Diaz, those aren't huge names, but it's still a more known name than a Jeff Horn, at least in America. You know what I mean? And they would probably be better fights. So it's not looking good to close your chapter. And then people are like, oh, he's a legend. He's already proven what he has to prove. Then who keeps fighting? If you've already put your stamp on the game, why are you fighting? Like, no one's trying to support well, most people, real boxing fans, not just fans of one person, aren't trying to support Pacquiao so he can pay off his debts and just support his entourage and people he knows and give them money and stuff like that by just fighting whoever. That's like gouging the public. That's to me, that's milking the consumer. Like, I'm just gonna use my name and just try to make as much money. And Vegas does that too sometimes, where they'll get someone who had a big name and not really as big anymore, like Britney Spears or Mariah Carey, and then they'll do a show and try to make as much money. Sometimes they do it with reality TV. They used to do it like Bret Michaels, like Scott Baio, people who aren't really relevant, but they try to tap out the public by giving them a reality show and see how many people watch Rock of Love or whatever with these like stars that are no longer really relevant, and they try to squeeze that last dime out of their fame. You know what I mean? And that's what it's looking like with Pacquiao. I mean, you're not gonna fight anybody in a stacked division, and then the people, like you said, the people that we do want to see you fight, like Crawford, you're saying you want $20 million, and I gotta keep reiterating this. Pacquiao has received $20 million before, right? But it has to make sense. Pacquiao got $20 million guaranteed for Bradley 3. Fact. Bradley had history with Pacquiao, controversial history. Bradley had one fight in the first fight that he beat Pacquiao, and it was considered a robbery of the century, and it was very controversial. Then they rematched, and Pacquiao beat him. So this third fight, even though people didn't want to see it, was a rubber match to see who finally wins the best out of 3, right? That's history. Plus, Bradley was on pay-per-view for Pacquiao 1, Pacquiao 2, and his fight with Juan Manuel Marquez was also pay-per-view. In addition, Bradley has several good ranking HBO main event performances, right? Where he's fighting whoever, Lamont Peterson, Devin Alexander, Ruslan Provatnikov, Diego Chavez, all these guys, right? Jesse Vargas. He fought all these people. Good resume, good name, been on pay-per-view 3 times going into the 4th or the 3rd Pacquiao fight, right? So him fighting Pacquiao and Pacquiao getting $20 million is a bit different because Bradley was undefeated when he first started fighting Pacquiao and all of the accolades I just said. So he was more established than Terence Crawford. This is not who's the better fighter, who's the more skilled fighter, who has more power. None of that. Who is more established? And it's clearly Bradley. Bradley had gotten the proper exposure, especially since there was controversy. Anytime there's controversy in the fight, it helps it sell. Floyd Mayweather, some people were saying Maidana beat him and it was a draw and all this, so the rematch sold better than the first Maidana fight, right? Sergey Kovalev, Andre Ward, people were talking about it and are still talking about it. Kovalev's still posting stuff about he got robbed and fans are still talking about it, right? Because controversy sells. So Bradley clearly, Crawford doesn't really have that controversial fight. You know what I mean? He's undefeated, and even if he's had trouble in spots like maybe Gamboa, he still beats their ass in the end, and then, or it's easy work like the Postal fight, the John Molina fight. So he hasn't really had nothing like that, and he hasn't had the pay-per-view backing. His last fight with that was pay-per-view, his first outing with Postal did 50,000. So you got to be realistic. On top of Crawford not being as established as Bradley in the public eye, he only did 50,000, and even more so is Pacquiao's numbers are steadily declining. If he doesn't have Mayweather as a selling point or as a dance partner, his numbers have declined. See, before there was always, and I'm gonna break it down and kick the science, and some people are gonna get mad, but this is true. Pacquiao, a lot of his fights were able to sell piggybacking off of Mayweather. That's a fact, because they both were able to use it, but I think Pacquiao needed it a little bit more. And they were both able to use each other's name back and forth in the media. Like Mayweather's fighting Cotto, and then people would ask him about Pacquiao. And he's like, I'm fighting Miguel Cotto. I'm not fighting Pacquiao. And the same thing, Pacquiao fighting Bradley. Then they kept saying, oh, a Mayweather fight could happen. Oh, Mayweather signed the contract. And you're able to, like I just said, controversy sells. So before past Pacquiao fights, he was, on top of him being a star, he was able to throw that out there. And it was something that the public was craving for 5 years. We want to see Mayweather Pacquiao, drug testing. Mayweather got sued for slander. He said, make me some sushi Pacquiao, all this controversy for 5 years. So they were able to bounce off each other. And I think more so, me personally, I think more so with the Pacquiao side by bringing up Mayweather, because Mayweather was the guy who was undefeated. Pacquiao been had losses. He lost and had been stopped before, right? So Pacquiao's team and Top Rank kind of used that. But after they fought and we all got an outcome, all got to see what would happen, and Floyd is the older fighter, then you can no longer use that as a selling point. You can't say, oh, I'm going to beat Mayweather's ass going into the Jesse Vargas fight, because you already lost to him. And it was a one-sided loss. You did good for like 1 or 2 rounds, right? So that no longer becomes a selling point for Pacquiao. So I think that helped plummet his numbers. Because again, if you take Mayweather out of the equation and you can't use him as a selling point anymore, look at Pacquiao's numbers in recent memory. Chris Algieri, Brandon Rios, Bradley 3, Bradley 2, Jesse Vargas. HBO didn't even pick up Jesse Vargas' fight. So, I mean, the writing's on the wall. It's Pacquiao after that loss hurt him, because you can no longer, it's no longer a speculation type of thing. Who would win? It's no longer fantasy. Who would win? Mayweather, Pacquiao. Yeah, we know who will win because they fought. So when that no longer becomes a selling point, then it's not the same. I remember, like, let's say when I worked at Lowe's, we would have, sometimes corporate would send us random holiday coupons, and it'd be like 10% off your whole order over $150 or some shit, right? And to close sales, as salespeople, we would use that coupon. We would offer it like, hey, if you buy this carpet, like we used to get like little, they called it spiffs, but they were commission. And when we were really trying to close the sale, like a big sale that would get the store and our numbers up and give us commission and stuff like that, we would say, hey, if you buy all this stuff right now, I got this coupon that'll give you 10% off, right? But then people start using that too much to close the sales and stuff, and then the coupon became null and void. Like, you could no longer use the coupon. If you scan it, it would no longer work, right? You're like, boop, and it would be like invalid coupon. So it would no longer discount the total order because people were abusing it, right? And too many people were using it, and the stores start taking a cut in profit. So to tie this all in, that coupon was handy if you used it right. You know what I'm saying? You can use it and close your sale. Like, I got a $10,000 carpet order, and then I'll take 10% off and close it and still make a good profit. But then other people kept using it on small orders. They used it as a tool because they weren't good salespeople, and they started abusing it. Corporate cut that coupon off and made it no longer effective, so it no longer worked. That's what happens when we got to see Mayweather Pacquiao. We got to see who would win, so you can no longer use that coupon, i.e. you can no longer bring up Floyd Mayweather's name to build hype for your other fights. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys get the contrast, but it's no longer, nobody is trying to hear that. Nobody wants to hear, like, let's say Pacquiao's going in a Jesse Vargas fight. Oh, I'm going to beat Mayweather's ass. We already seen that. So what are you going to say? Oh, Floyd's scared. I'll fight him for free. that's not going to make the same headlines that it made before you fought him, because we still wanted to see it. But we've already seen it at least one time. So it's not much you could say. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Soulja Boy and Chris Brown fighting in their celebrity boxing match or whatever. And let's say Chris Brown knocked him out in the first round, and Soulja Boy gets on wax and he's making a bunch of Instagram videos like, fuck you, Chris Brown, I'm gonna beat your ass and da-da-da, I got the Draco, bow, bow. Are you gonna believe him? You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna have the same effect when we've actually seen it. We've seen you guys lace up and we've seen what happened. You guys get it? So that's what it is. And for Pacquiao, it's just, I don't personally want to see him just fight whoever just for the sake of continuing to fight in a stacked division. He is a legend, but maybe you should ride off into the sunset. If you're going to fight people, you're going to dig that down. You're going to dig down into the bottom of the barrel and the reason I say bottom of the barrel is because you're in a stacked division. Jeff Horn could be an alright fighter, but he's not ready for this moment, in my opinion. If he were to beat Pacquiao, that's more of a testament to where Pacquiao is in his career. But if it's the Pacquiao that we've seen, then Pacquiao should have more than enough to beat a guy like Jeff Horn from what I've seen, right? And it doesn't make sense in a stacked division. Like, you got Errol Spence, you got Keith Thurman, you got possibly Kell Brook, you got Amir Khan, you got Shawn Porter, you got Danny Garcia, you got maybe Broner fight that you could make, you got Terence Crawford. There's a lot of guys in or around the division that make for more interesting matches. Hell, even a Lomachenko, they said Pacquiao can drop weight. Lomachenko would be a good scrap. You know what I mean? At 140 or 35 or whatever, right? So there's way too many compelling matches that actually make sense than to force feed the public Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn. So it's not really a good close. And if people were outraged by Mayweather after beating Pacquiao, Cotto, Canelo, and Robert Guerrero and Maidana twice, they were outraged by Floyd closing his contract with Berto, a two-time champion who's at least young, strong, has speed, and bigger than him, then there's really no excuse, because we at least knew the Berto name. And Berto has power. I mean, he just stopped Victor Ortiz, and he clearly has power, right? And he has youth at the very least. Floyd makes everyone look bad. You could say, oh, Berto didn't do anything, but who does do anything with Floyd? You know what I mean? There's been a handful of guys that have had moments, and then Floyd always adapts, and then he wins the fight. You know what I mean? DeMarcus Corley shined for a minute. Shane Mosley shined for a minute. Zab Judah shined for a minute. But Pacquiao shined for that one round, and then he wins the fight. So Floyd is the exception. Everyone loses to Floyd. So, yeah, I don't want to see Pacquiao just continuing to fight just for the fuck of it and to make a cool couple million. You know what I'm saying? Like, get into acting or something. Like, or retire and have like exhibition matches, and if people want to show up for that. But it doesn't make sense to milk the public like that. Next question, Joe Kelly. Who do you think is the best heavyweight right now? Thanks for answering my question, Ego. God bless you. Ooh. I really don't know. And that's, to be honest, Tyson Fury, you can't count him out. But I would say my three people are Anthony Joshua, Luis King Kong Ortiz, and Wilder. And it really just depends. Like, Wilder, you know what I mean? He hasn't fought anyone as good as Bermane Stiverne since Stiverne. But I think he's a good fighter. Athletic, good jab, good hook. He has the size, he has the power, he has the mindset. Anthony Joshua, but he's still under 20 fights, but he has power, he looks ambitious. Luis King Kong Ortiz, Cuban background, can box, can get on his toes, but he hasn't, you know what I mean, he's had some layoffs or performances like the Malik Scott. So I really just have to see him scrap. I don't really know who it is, but those are the top three people. I think I would put them over like Joseph Parker's and also Tyson Fury. Like, if they did like a Super Six with all those guys, I think it would be narrowed down to those three. That's just my opinion. But it is hard to narrow down to the sole person. That's why we want to see those fights. We want to see them all fight each other so we can assess and have an undisputed heavyweight champion. Like, hey, this is the man. This is the man to beat. Next question comes from Lino DiBiase. In 2017, if you had to put money on it, who do you think will be the top welterweight? Do you mean for the year, or? I would say Errol Spence Jr. I think career-wise, he hasn't faced some of the big names. Like, you know what I mean, Keith Thurman just fought Shawn Porter. That was a tough fight. The Lucas Matisse fight was probably tough for Danny Garcia, Zab Judah, Lamont Peterson, and Mauricio Herrera. So I think Errol Spence, not only is he skilled, powerful, but he's also probably the freshest, meaning he hasn't had the wear and tear on his body like some of the other guys. Plus, I really rate Errol Spence. I think Errol is like his nickname. I think he's the truth. So that's who I'm picking. I think he'll have a good year. Obviously, if Kell Brook accepts the fight and he beats him, then it's on and popping, and he'll finally have gotten a title as a welterweight. So I think he'll have a good year. Next question, Darrell Smith. What's up, Ego? 2 questions. Number 1, who would you like to see Tank fight if he beats Pedraza? Do you think he could give Lomachenko a run for his money if he beats Pedraza in dominant fashion? Or is it still way too early to be thinking about that? I think Lomachenko, he's like at the top of the totem pole. So if I was money team after a tough fight with Pedraza, you know what I mean, or at least a step up, even if he makes easy work of it, I wouldn't put him in with Lomachenko straight off the bat, because that's in Lomachenko's own career, that's what got him his first loss. You know what I mean? Second fight, took on a veteran with power. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, there's no rush. And Lomachenko is older than Tank Davis, so it's really no rush for Tank Davis. He's 21. You know what I mean? So I think if he gets his title, do like Robert Easter. He's getting a soft touch. He should beat at home, build his confidence some more, and then get him back on the road. Fights like Francisco Vargas, Orlando Salido, any of those guys after that point. But Lomachenko should be probably, since he's the main one, you should build up to that. You know what I'm saying? He's probably the most skillful. Lomachenko he's the boss, to me at least. So I would try the other guys like Jason Sosa. That's a good fight. He's a champion. Guys like Javier Fortuna, any of those fights, and then get through the henchmen and the level bosses, and then you fight King Koopa. That's what I would do. Part 2 of your question. Do you think Pacquiao still has potential to beat any of these welterweights out here? Because I think Pac already answered the question by fighting all these cherry-picked bums he's fought and planning on fighting lately. Nah, I mean, I wouldn't personally pick Pacquiao to beat the whole crop of welterweights. Believe it or not, I think Danny Garcia is a tough fight, but that's why I don't like talking boxing with some of you guys, because you guys are too radical for me. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, what? Danny's a cherry picker. Blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, there's no educated conversation. I'm not fully from the internet age. Like, I make a living off the internet and I know how to use it. I'm tech savvy and stuff like that. But that's not the school I'm from. I'm cut from a different cloth. So I don't do all the little like schoolgirl games and name calling. I don't do all that. I don't talk. If I have a problem with someone and I have their number, I would call them. I don't get on the internet and start bad mouthing people. You know what I'm saying? That's just not how I get down. So that's why I don't like talking boxing, because the internet gives everybody a voice, and some of y'all don't need a fucking voice. You need to be like Ariel in The Little Mermaid when Ursula reached down her fucking throat and took her fucking vocal cords out. But I think Danny Garcia could possibly beat Pacquiao. I mean, he's very good with timing. He's powerful. And again, some people aren't going to like that. And they're, oh no, Danny's a cherry picker. Herrera beat him. You can't. Herrera beat him. I mean, so the thing is, that's like saying Rustico Torrecampo knocked out Pacquiao. But Pacquiao, look at all the other people that couldn't do what Rustico did. You know what I'm saying? Boxing doesn't work like that. So is Rustico Torrecampo, is he a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather because Floyd couldn't knock him out and Rustico did? You know what I'm saying? Like, some of y'all don't. You look at boxing through rose-colored lenses based on who you like and who you don't like. Bottom line to me, and I figure I know my stuff when it comes to boxing, is if Marquez, who is not as big as Danny Garcia, could knock Pacquiao out in the fashion he did, Danny Garcia can do it if he connects. But it's all a matter of if he can connect. I mean, you heard in the Bradley 3 fight, Bradley hurt Pacquiao, and then Pacquiao retaliated good and knocked him down twice. But Bradley, the Kellerman said he heard something like Pacquiao said, oh, you hurt me, or something like that to Bradley. So again, at this point, if Bradley can hurt him, then Garcia can. But it's not even just Garcia. Look at Errol Spence. He's too big for Pacquiao. Like, they're in the same division, but frame-wise, power-wise, strength-wise, youth-wise, like I said earlier, he doesn't have that much mileage on him. It's not like he's just been getting his ass beat and knocked down and stuff. Keith Thurman, that's a super difficult fight. Shawn Porter. So, no, I don't think Pacquiao is invincible at 147 at this point. He hasn't had a knockout since 2009. So, I mean, is he really going to knock out Keith Thurman? But he couldn't knock out Brandon Rios, who is way more there to be hit. And I think Keith Thurman is hitting harder at welterweight than Brandon Rios, because that was Brandon Rios' first fight at 47. No acclamation, came straight off the Alvarado 2 loss, went 140 to 147. And you guys can say, oh, but Brandon Rios is big, man. Brandon Rios, that's cool. He can be big all he wants, but it doesn't matter if you haven't acclimated to the division, because the acclimation process does a lot of things. Your body and your muscles have to rest into that and acclimate to that setting. Like I told you guys, I used to work at Lowe's, and even some of the hardwood flooring, same kind of thing. You have to put it down, and nobody's supposed to walk on it because it has to acclimate to the room temperature of that particular house, like the pergo or whatever flooring, stuff like that. And there's a reason for that, because every house, every spot, every location, every city, different temperatures, different climates, so it has to acclimate to that specific setting, right? And that's how it is. So Brandon Rios does have the frame to move up, but it doesn't matter if you move up straight away. You know what I'm saying? Kell Brook moved up. He has I guess he didn't look, he looked smaller to me than Golovkin, but he obviously was outweighing him on the scales and stuff. But look what happened. I mean, it doesn't matter how, just being big, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't, if you don't acclimate, you don't give your body a chance to adjust to the pacing of fighting with that added weight and stuff like that. There's just a lot to it. But anyway, Keith Thurman, he has a knockout at like 152, 153. He knocked out Carlos Quintana. So it's a big difference. And again, to me, I don't do like triangle theories and this and that. But I mean, if Pacquiao hasn't knocked anybody out since 2009, I don't see why people keep acting like he's just still this knockout artist. I mean, you didn't knock out Chris Algieri in his first fight pretty much at the welterweight mark at 143. You know what I mean? And he was coming off a split decision. So I really don't see him knocking out the top guys. I mean, it's possible if they get really careless. But again, if you haven't knocked out Bradley in 3 tries, you didn't knock out Marquez when you had him hurt, you didn't knock out Rios off of a loss, first fight at 47. You didn't even get credit for a knockdown in that fight. You didn't knock out Chris Algieri or Jesse Vargas. I really don't see Pacquiao knocking out, at this point, any of the top, the Shawn Porters, Keith Thurmans, Errol Spence, Kell Brook. I just don't see it. Maybe Amir Khan, and that's really because Amir Khan, we don't know how much damage he took. He's been knocked out multiple times, especially the last one was brutal. So that's my thoughts.